First piece of viewer mail. I think I have an idea what this is, but let's open it and find out. Let me get a utensil here to open this up with. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Now that is a piece of hardware. So I made this video up here a couple of weeks ago, and it was about clearing off the lens of the GoPro while we were machining with coolant. And one of our viewers said, well, gee, Tim, you spent all that effort, why don't you just use an air knife? And I replied, an air what? So not too long after that, he sent me an email and said, hey, I'd like to send you something, where could I send it to? So I gave him a shipping address, and here we go. So this piece of hardware is what's called an air knife. Now what I did is somewhat similar to this, albeit very archaic. So what this does is this will generate a very nice, strong curtain of air. And the idea here isn't to clear the lens off when coolant hits it. The idea here is to prevent the coolant from actually making it to the lens. So these use quite a bit of air. So we'll hook it up and do some experimentation and see how good it works, and then if we can get it to work. So thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it. Here's a little bit closer view. So you can see there's a whole row of really fine holes there. And then these little ridges here try to get the air moving in a laminar flow pattern so it makes a nice curtain. So thank you, Brian. Let's go out to the shop and give it a try. Okay, we're in the shop. Let's go over to the machine and we'll break out the GoPro and we'll try out this air knife, see how it works. So our first test is at 40 psi, and we're about a 1/4 to 1/2 inch in front of the lens. You can see it's easily penetrating. So now we'll turn the pressure up, clean the lens off a little bit, and we'll try 100 psi. Now at 100 psi, we did better, but we're still getting quite a bit of coolant on the lens. And what you can't see is the huge cloud of coolant that's forming inside the machine from the coolant getting atomized. Then we move the camera over. So now this is only 10 psi, but we're holding the nozzle pointed towards the lens to push the coolant off the lens and to the side. And this works very well. So I think this is the approach that we're going to try to take here. Okay, well, that's a result. Now, I tried it at a whole bunch of varying pressures, all the way up from 100 psi down to 10 psi. And even at 100 psi, it didn't seem to completely prevent coolant from making it to the GoPro lens. The negative side of running that high of pressure is as soon as the coolant hits that airstream, it just atomizes it. And it gets coolant everywhere, and it really stinks in the shop now because there's coolant everywhere. One of the reasons I also use flood coolant and not the fog busters is I just hate atomized coolant. So I try real hard not to atomize my coolant. However, even though the higher pressures don't seem to prevent the coolant from hitting the lens and they atomize the coolant, this air knife at only 10 psi does not atomize the coolant at all, and it provides much more effective clearing of the lens. So I think what I'm going to do is use it at 10 psi, and so if the plane of the lens is here, kind of have the air knife pointing at the lens at kind of like a 10-degree angle, you know, kind of a shallow angle. And that seemed to be the most effective. And as soon as the coolant hits the lens, it's gone. And it clears out the whole entire lens all the way across. So it does a much better job than my little homemade contraption that we made a couple of weeks ago. So definitely an awesome piece of hardware. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you again, Brian. So the only thing that we're going to have to do, the way I was testing it is I just kind of stuck it on my air gun. I think I'm gonna machine a block to hold the air knife, kind of like that, and then also hold the GoPro like that, and then this whole contraption will be hanging from the spindle. I hang the GoPro upside down when I'm filming the spindle. So with it like that, I think we'll be good. So an upcoming project that we'll have is we'll machine a block of aluminum and put the GoPro mount on that block, and then put the air knife here, and then have an attachment point for the air knife so it's all one piece. And then we'll also make it so that it will attach to our Noga indicator base here. I don't know if I'll use a dovetail or if I'll just use like the 3/8 dowel pin. So that will be a project up and coming. So again, thank you, Brian. I greatly appreciate it. This is a really cool piece of hardware. It works really well, much better than, you know, the claptrap that I kind of tested and had the idea with. So thank you. Okay, so speaking of what's upcoming, there's been a couple of viewers that have just bought Fidel vertical machining centers. I've gotten a couple of emails asking for a video on basic Fidel operation. So I think we're going to make that for this Friday. So I'm going to try to shoot that this week and make it for this Friday. I'd like to give a shout out specifically to a viewer and a fellow YouTuber that just bought a new to them Fidel machine. I hope I pronounced the name right. He's from Finland, and I believe it's Samuel. And he just bought a Fidel VMC 3016L, which is the next size up machine from this. It's a little newer than this one. It's about 5 years newer. His is a 99. He just made 2 videos on it where he's got it moved into his shop and he's starting to hook it up. So he gave us a shout out, and I've been emailing him a little bit, you know, just giving him some tips on how to move these things. He moved it himself, so, you know, really cool. So he's pretty excited about that, and he's getting that all hooked up. So we'll kind of watch him get his machine hooked up, and if we can help him out any way we can, we'll do that as well. So that's also why we'll make the Friday video coming up on, you know, basic Fidel operations. We have another project video coming up. A friend of mine has a meat slicer. Yeah, I know the first thing that comes to your mind when you say meat slicer. The knob that adjusts the thickness of the slices is gone. So he asked if we could make a knob. So we're going to make a knob for a meat slicer. You know, it's a part to make, and we can show it on video, so it'll be pretty cool. One of the things that I'm going to do with this project, I think, a lot of people liked the cam and then making of part on the last part video we did for the moisture separator. So I think with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk through the CAD part of it and how I model it. And we're going to have to model both the existing part and then the new part we're going to make so that we can make sure that they fit together. And then we're also going to machine a little bit off of the existing part to make the new knob fit nice and work nice. You'll see why when I show you the mating part. It's all chewed up. So I think what we'll do is we'll do the CAD, we'll do the cam, and then we'll make the part. And I try not to make these videos too long, so I don't know how many videos I'm going to split it up into. So we got that part coming up. That will be real soon because he'd like to have his meat slicer working again. Then I'm going to make a moisture separator for a high pressure compressor. So we're going to see if we can make a 5,000 psi moisture separator. I've got some parts on order that are needed for it, so that will be coming up not too distant future. That one's a lower priority. And then also another video that has been requested a lot is a series of videos on how to select and what effects different geometry of end mills has. That's going to be a really deep rabbit hole. It's probably going to take a couple of videos to get through that. So lots of really cool stuff coming up. It's probably going to take, you know, at least a month or two for me to make all these videos and get through all this material. I really only have time to do one major video a week. I've been trying to do these little small videos that are easy to make, you know, as a Monday or Tuesday little snippet. It just takes so much time. I can really only commit to one video a week. Also coming up, you know, towards the end of November and then the end of December, I might miss a week here or there. I'm going to try not to, but just to give you a heads up, I don't want anybody to be disappointed. You know, I look forward to watching other YouTuber videos and it's like, oh, they didn't release a video. So just to give you a heads up, I might miss a week here or there towards the end of November and December. Okay, so that's going to wrap this one up. So thanks again, Brian, for our air knife. You can see how it worked. I think that's going to work awesome. We're going to make a part to hold it and get that all situated. Got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Stay tuned and we'll see you in the next one.